Hello everyone, Matt from Sigma UK here, and today I am here with the lovely Steve Vigers.
Nice introduction, thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. Yeah. How are you? All right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's lovely to be back here again, isn't it? And,
Yes,
talking about yet more lenses.
Yes, yeah. Today we are bringing you another brand new product, the Sigma 14mm f1.4 DG DN art lens. So this lens is a revision of our previous 14mm 1.8, which released in Canon, Nikon, Sony E-mount and L-mount.
It did indeed.
Where the new DG DN is for L-mount and Sony E-mount.
It's built from the ground up, we should say. This is part of our DG DN range, which is our full frame mirrorless products. And again, it completely built from the ground up for Sony and for L-mount currently.
Yeah.
And we're going to go into a bit of the detail which would outline that shortly. We'll go into a little bit of the detail and a bit of spec about it. But it's exciting. We've been building these DG DN lenses, these mirrorless full frame lenses now for some time, and the extra features, etc., that it brings is what's the exciting part of it, isn't it? So
yes, exactly.
Perhaps we should start to look at a bit of that, shall we?
Yeah.
And I mean, Matt, you're the technical guy, not me, so I'm going to be relying on you here to go through these bits and pieces.
I'm sure you will correct me anything I do.
We'll see how we can do. Yeah, exactly. So
brilliant. So
let's make a start. Should we make a comparison first of all?
Yeah,
which I think is a nice way to start. But
again, as mentioned, the 40mm 1.8 was first released in Canon Nikon fit, and then when we were able to produce them in both Sony E-mount and L-mount, we adapted them to work on those systems. So literally adapting the DSLR lens to mirrorless, which is perfect again just to be able to bring these lenses to those systems. But now with the new 14mm, as Steve said, built from the ground up, we're able to incorporate a lot new features that you can only get for mirrorless systems.
Let's start by looking at the sizes of these two lenses, because if you want to, you grab that one a second. So so Matt's got the original 1.8 version of the 14mm. I've got the brand new version, which is an f1.4. So it's a faster lens. In fact, it's the world's fastest mirrorless 14mm
full frame
lens currently available. So, but you can see, if I just take this cap off as well, we're going to talk about this cap in a remarkably, we're going to be talking about a lens cap in a bit of detail, which is not often something we do, but we'll cut. So we're going to come back to that. So keep that in your back pocket. We're going to come back to that. So we've got both lenses here, as you can see. Although one is faster, they're both very similar in size. In fact, there's only a slight difference in size and weight between the two.
Yeah, there's only about 15 gram difference in the actual weight.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
A lot more technology packed into this one, a lot more glass elements as well. It has 19 elements in total, but the previous only had 16. But this has got more special FLD glass elements built in to help correct for chromatic aberration and distortion, especially at the corners of the frame. So it's quite remarkable that that can all be compacted into this particular lens and not be any larger, essentially.
It's amazing how the technology is moving, isn't it? Yeah. So that's the obvious difference between the two, which if at a glance you wouldn't see hugely because of the size and the weight being really similar. Yeah. But
but when we compare the side of the lens, we've got a different button configuration on the side here. So again, being based off the DSLR version of the lens, this has got the autofocus and manual focus switch only. Whereas we've got a few more buttons on here, don't we, Steve?
Yeah. As with the DG DN lenses that we've been launching recently, we tend now to always add an aperture ring. And the beauty of this aperture ring is, you can hear, obviously you might be able to hear that now, but that's obviously clicking as it normally would. But as we've done before, you can actually de-click the aperture ring. So you can smoothly move through the aperture range without any noise, any clicks again, which is beautiful for using for cine, for example, for video application. So that's one feature which is added. Focus lock button added on there as well in a really convenient spot. So it tends to sit where your thumb sits, so you can use that to focus lock. And also with Sony, there's numerous various options that you can customise the button
it's
to.
like a camera.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can do.
So that's a lovely feature as well. You can lock the aperture ring into auto. There's a lock button on the side there as well, so you can lock that in. And then also you've got an autofocus and manual focus switch on the side there, which so you can change it from autofocus and manual focus. Manual focus being the big ring at the front of the lens there. Yeah.
So the great thing about the manual focus lock switch is that deactivates the focus ring. So if you are setting up for long exposure shots or for nightscapes, for example, you can switch that switch and it deactivates the ring entirely. So that helps that if you are moving around or you accidentally knock it, it's not going to adjust your focus at all to then throw your final image out of focus, essentially. So it's a very handy little tool.
Feature.
Very
yeah,
useful feature,
definitely.
yeah.
Useful feature. You may have noticed while I've been playing, I mean, our lenses now are so tactile, I can't put the thing down. But you might have noticed, of course, this is part of the art range. So you've got, you'll know we've got contemporary, we've got sports, we've got art, and this lens falls into the art category, which is optimised for incredible optical performance. And talking about the optical performance, we were chatting before we started this presentation.
Very good segue.
And we don't often chat often, do we? But you know, when we get a chance, we try to make the effort, don't we? But, so we had a little chat, and we were saying how I learned from the earlier presentation, from what you've told me today, this has been optimised for distance.
Yep, optically optimised for distance subjects. So whereas you can still focus on closer subjects, so it's got a 30 centimetre close focus distance, the lens design and construction has been specifically designed for landscapes, your nightscapes, your starscapes.
Which is ultimately what this is. This lens is designed for, isn't it? I mean, our 14mm previously was loved as an astrophotography lens and landscape, but again, use our lenses in any application. Why not? You know, they're so versatile, but obviously it lends itself beautifully towards astrophotography and landscape photography as well, which
because usually with some wider angle lenses, the distortion at the end can cause stars to become misshapen. So again, being optically corrected for distance, that will be lovely and circular all the way to the edges of your frame. So absolutely perfect for that. And again, with the F1.4 aperture, that also reduces your exposure time as well. So you may think between F1.8 to F1.4 doesn't sound a lot. It's only about, was it about 2/3 of a stop?
2/3 of a stop.
2/3 of a stop, roughly. But that equates to about 58% increase in light intake. So that really reduces the exposure times down.
And I'm not going to confess to working out that maths, but our marketing guy Tim has gone into working out that in some detail, which is really good. So, but that it just shows you, 1.4, 1.8, but that actually makes 58% extra light, which if you are using it for astro, it's just incredible, isn't it? So it makes a massive difference. And especially now with no compromise, because you've got a lens that's basically the same weight and size as the previous F1.8 version, but with the added advantage of that extra 58% worth of light travelling into the sensor, which is remarkable. Other features, we've got to talk about other features this has got. I mean, you'd have seen straight away that this has a bracket built on, which does one of two things really. It's an Arca Swiss plate bracket, so it goes straight onto an Arca Swiss compatible monopod, tripod, whatever it is that you use. But also it balances the lens beautifully, doesn't it?
It does, yes.
Because of that little extra bit of weight of just sitting there on just beyond where the lens mount is. Once it's mounted onto the camera body, then it just balances the lens beautifully. It puts the central weight there, sitting there, rather than all on the lens mount itself. Which,
so as you can see with the previous one, it doesn't have that mount, and because it was adapted from a mirrorless lens, it increased in size towards the bottom, so it can adapt to E-mount. So you may have found that it might start to drift when you're trying to set up. It gets a little bit complicated. So then the tripod mount on the bottom is a very handy, neat little feature. Especially.
So I'm just trying to I'm trying to calculate in my mind how many extra features we're talking about here, because it's quite a few. I mean, obviously putting to one side the fact that the lens is faster than the original 1.8 version, you've got an aperture ring which is de-clickable. You've got a lens bracket,
bracket,
which is fantastic for balancing the lens and obviously mounting Arca Swiss directly on.
Yeah, you've got all the buttons on the side.
You've got all the buttons that you need on the side, which your autofocus lock, your
Yep.
manual AF switch.
One of the
de-clickable
aperture.
Yeah.
One of the brand new features. I'll pop this away.
Yeah, let's move that one to one side now.
Move this one now.
I'll put that down as well now. I think I've held it long enough.
So there's again 2 features which are more specifically designed for astro and nightscapes. We've got one is that this now includes the lens heater retainer. So you would have first seen this in our 20mm f1.4. So that's the first lens to introduce the lens heater retainer. So what that allows is for a lens heater to be wrapped around. So lens heaters help the lens stay warm to be able to keep condensation off, especially with night dew. If you're taking long exposure, it can form on the front of your lens element. So this wraps around the front, connects in, starts heating it up, and with the previous lens and other lenses that you use for nightscapes, that sometimes these can slip forward and appear in the periphery of your image. Because it's so dark, you may not actually see that until you've taken your photo. So you're sitting there for a long exposure and suddenly your image is ruined. Because you're missing stars around the side.
And that little lip on that you've seen on the design of the lens obviously retains it there and stops it from sliding forward, which is just the attention to detail, isn't it? Which again, is Sigma are famous for their attention to detail. And that obviously leads me on to another feature, which I think is just amazing, really, because it's Japan and their attention to detail, which always just surprises me every time.
You can tell you a bit of side.
We hinted to this at the beginning of the lens presentation, and of course this is the lens cap. Yeah, wonderful. So the lens cap goes on, and actually, if you don't, it stays locked on, which is a little different to what we've had in the past as well. So you have to press the buttons in there to release it. But I mean, I've been in the photographic industry now for a few years longer than yourself, Matt. I know it's difficult to tell. We look very similar in age, you know.
Slight difference in age there, isn't there? Yeah.
But I've been around in this industry for some time, and I've not seen this before. No. And it's when you're using rear filters, and this lens has a rear filter slot in the back there. So lenses of this nature that have a large aspherical type element on the front, you can't really use filters on the front. There are ways of adapting and using filters, but they're a bit clumsy. So using rear filters is much more convenient. So there's a nice slot in the back of the lens there to put your rear filters in. But if you're out, you're shooting your shots, you're out in the middle of the night, it's freezing cold, all of these challenges when you're doing a bit of astrophotography. You want to use your rear filters, and the beauty of this cap is there's 2 little marked 1 and 2 in the back there, and these are actually 2 little drawers for storing
filter slots.
Which is just the detail, just wonderful, isn't it? So in here you've got slot number 1, thank you.
There we go.
And push that in, so that just slots into there. That's where you store your filter in there. And once that's in there, it's in and locked into place, and you can just access it whenever you need it. And you've got another one on the other side for popping another one in there as well. So what a wonderful use of the lens cap.
Yeah, and rear tilt filters as well come in very, very handy for numerous sort of applications. So the one you've got there in your hand is an ND. So great for your long exposures. And you can even get soft type filters as well, which are even better for your stars, which increase the size of them, make them glow better, essentially. So save you carrying a whole load of, especially if this was a standard type filter, the filter would be quite large, so you're taking a lot around with you. So having a small compact case of rear type filters and then 2 ready to go all the time, even better.
I just think that's it's just a fabulous idea that they've come up with, and in our wonderful factory in Japan, in Aizu, they've done it again, haven't they?
They have.
You know, a feature that no one else has seen. The lens alone is just phenomenal. We've spoke about the technical spec of the lens, and we should go over a bit more of that just briefly again. I think elements, 19 elements. This has got more blaze in the diaphragm, I think, than the previous one as well.
11 in this one, which was 9 compared to the previous version.
So it's packed with technical advancements in regards to the way the lens is configured and constructed.
And it's The other thing that we haven't mentioned just yet as well is the HLA motor.
Yes.
So that was first introduced in the Sigma 60 to 600. So all lenses that can accommodate that focusing system, like the 40mm in there now. So fast, accurate autofocusing. It goes back to saying the size of the lens as well.
Yeah.
That's how we've also been able to keep the size of the lens down because of this newer, better, faster autofocusing system can be shrunk down into something, into a lens like this. So yeah, very, very quick, very sharp for focusing.
So available Sony E-mount, available in L-mount, and I think worldwide availability should be in the stores from around the 23rd of June.
Yeah, it's not long to wait.
So yeah, place a pre-order and it should be available to you from the 23rd of this month. Yeah. We're in June now, aren't we?
Yeah,
already.
Yeah.
So great start to the month for us at Sigma. And
we'll be bringing this to you. And again, check out your local UK retailers. So that's where you can place your pre-orders.
Yeah.
So if you are really interested in this lens, again, it's going to be very popular. So good to get your pre-orders in now. So how much is it going to be?
It's going to be retail at £1,399.99 is the suggested retail.
Perfect.
So again, really well priced for a lens of this specification.
Yeah.
And compared to the previous version as well. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nice modern full frame mirrorless version available in stores from around the 23rd of this month. So, yeah, good to see you again, Matt.
Good to see you too.
Enjoyed our time together. I was going to do the fun thing. You don't know about that.
I don't know about that yet.
Other people do. Yeah. So anyhow, great to see you.
You'll have to teach me once.
Yeah, I will. Great to see you. Fantastic. And thanks to everybody again out there. And
tuning in.
look forward to seeing your images. Take care.
See you later.